Let me just share this, bear with me. I switch to full screen. Okay, so it's just a few slides, and as I've said, feel free to pop your questions in the chat box as I go along. So SOAS University of London, I thought it'd be nice to also share some nice imagery around the campus as well, and show you what you might be, kind of working towards in terms of your application. So SOAS, what does it mean? This is a question I get a lot from students. And as Ranveer said, it is the School of Oriental and African Studies. So we are specialists in the study of Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, but our discipline, our subject areas extend across a number of different subject areas, which I will tell you about in the next slide. We were founded in 1916, so we're a little bit over 100 years old. And as I've said, we are specialists in those particular regions around the world, particularly with regards to culture, to society, to language. Our subjects span across the arts, humanities and social sciences, and at SOAS we only have a September intake, and applications for September 2022 are very much still open. And if you have any questions on how to submit an application, feel free to ask me those at the end. So we're also based in central London, as our name suggests. We have a beautiful location in the very heart of London. And this is the SOAS campus here. So we're one campus in London, and our campus is made up of a cluster of buildings. So it's really convenient for students. They're not having to travel across the city to attend classes. All of our teaching is done within the one location. So hopefully this map here gives you a really nice indication as to where we are in London. We're very close to iconic places that you may have seen in movies, social media, places like Big Ben, the London Eye, St. Paul's Cathedral. These are all easily accessible. And we've got great transportation links as well around the city. So obviously the quickest and convenient way to get around London is using the Underground, and you do get a student discount when you use the Underground in London. And the bus is also very popular, but also where we are in the area called Bloomsbury, it's a lovely area to walk around as well. And we've got places like the British Museum and the British Library, again, all a 5-minute walking distance from the campus. And for those that are coming into London, for students that are arriving, you will typically be arriving into London Heathrow Airport. So when you get off the plane and you get your luggage, you can hop on the Underground. It's the Piccadilly line, and it will take you pretty much to the front door of the SOAS campus in just under an hour. So again, really convenient for students coming in from overseas. And this is Russell Square. It is a park very close, 2-minute walk from the campus, and it's a really beautiful space for students to occupy. We do have the sun. It is warm in London, especially spring and summer time, so lovely green spaces to enjoy that are again just on the doorstep of the SOAS campus. And here's a snapshot of the campus. We've got this pedestrian precinct that runs in the middle of the cluster of buildings that I spoke about. So on the left-hand side here, you can see our main building. This is where we have teaching, and we also have our library, which is located in the main building. And just opposite here, we have the Brunei Gallery, which hosts a number of international exhibitions throughout the year. So it's a really lovely space. This pedestrian precinct is usually really busy with students, and we are now back on campus, so it's really lovely to have students back. There's such a nice buzz and feel around the campus. So yeah, we're really happy to be back and for things to be back to normal. I mentioned the library. It's one of our most treasured resources on campus, and you can see a picture of it here. There are 5 national research libraries in the UK, and SOAS is home to one of them. So it's a tremendous resource for students, and it is one of the world's most important libraries for the study of Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. It has over 1.3 million resources, including archives, manuscripts, rare books, and special collections. So I get a lot of questions from students about how much study materials are going to be, concerns around buying books. the library should always be your first point of call. It has all of these resources. Each floor is dedicated to a particular region of the world. So any book or resource that you need for your program, you'll be able to access in the library. And of course, online journals as well are easily accessible for students. This is the full Weebly Wing. This is located in Senate House, which is the third building, which makes up the SOAS campus. It's a recent addition to SOAS, and again, we have teaching space in here, but we also have all of our student support services located under the one roof. So things like careers, accommodation, advice and well-being, these are all within one location, so really easy for students to access. So we're a very international university, and we are well equipped to provide support and guidance to students throughout their journey of being a student with us. And you can see a lot of nice study space in this picture. So, places to come together in groups to discuss coursework and spaces to just work individually on any assignments or essays that you have coming up. In terms of our subject areas, I obviously mentioned these span across the social sciences, arts and humanities. So we have a range of programs at SOAS, including subjects like anthropology, development studies, finance and management, law, politics, and South Asian studies. So that's just a snapshot of what we offer. Students at SOAS are very much taught from that global non-Eurocentric approach. We have moved away from teaching students about Western theory and Western ideology. We give students that global approach to their program, and we very much teach, as I've said, from that kind of non-Western viewpoint. And we very much encourage students to learn across the different disciplines. So you might be taking a degree in development studies, for example. You'll always have about flexibility and a minimum of 2 modules where you can take from outside of your discipline area. So if you're taking a degree in development studies, you might look to take a module from gender, or you might look to take a module from politics and international studies, or perhaps from South Asia. And it might be a module that will really help to complement your degree. So we really encourage students to learn across the disciplines and really take advantage of that expertise that's available to students at SOAS. We also offer over 50 non-European languages. So with that flexibility and those optional modules, some students do take a language module that counts towards their degree. This might be beginners Mandarin, beginners Arabic, and having a basic language on your CV will really help to enhance your profile and will help you to kind of stand out from the crowd when you come to apply for jobs. In terms of some of the popular degrees that students from India study with us, at the undergraduate level, we have law, politics and international relations, management and social anthropology. And at the master's level, programs like development studies, gender, international studies and diplomacy, and the LLM. So this just gives you an idea of the types of programs students are studying with us. We really have a diverse and active student community at SOAS. I think our SOAS students really make us who we are. They're very passionate about global issues and creating change. We often have many protests on campus. They're all very friendly and peaceful, but SOAS gives students that opportunity to raise awareness about what they're passionate about and things that they want to change, whether that's at the global level or within their home countries. As I've said earlier on, we're a very international university. We have students from over 135 countries studying with us. So London itself is an international hotspot, and SOAS very much mirrors that. So we have over 50% of our students studying with us are from outside of the UK, and this really helps to enhance your learning and your understanding when you're studying with us. So you might be in a seminar or a tutorial, and the other students in your class, they might be from all over the world. So learning about their experiences, what it's like in their home country will really help to give you that global understanding and consider what a particular issue is like in another country. We have around 6,500 students on campus, so we're not a big university. So other universities in the UK may have over 20,000 students studying with them, or 10,000. So we are slightly smaller in comparison, but we really offer students that nice community feel on campus. So students feel part of the university, they find it really easy to make friends and establish networks. And we also offer students small class sizes as well. So we keep our class sizes as small as we can. So in seminars and tutorials, there'll be around a maximum of 15 students in your class. So it gives you that really good one-to-one contact with professors and engagement with other students on your course. And for India, we had 135 new students enroll with us last September. 17 were studying undergraduate programs and over 100 were studying postgraduate programs. So we have a really nice community of Indian students already established at SOAS. So if this is your first time leaving India, going to the UK, studying overseas, you'll definitely have connections when you're on campus. So if you do feel a little homesick at times, you'll definitely be able to connect with other students from India. This is just a snapshot in terms of where some of our alumni go on and work. We have really great presence across all sectors and in all parts of the world. We have a lot of alumni going to work for the UN and for international organizations like Amnesty and Save the Children. Oh, sorry, we also have many students working within the media as journalists, and also many working for big consultancy firms as well. So we do offer students that opportunity to network with the alumni community, and this can be really important in helping you to advance in your career, and having those connections, especially with SOAS students, can be really important. Just a little bit on English language requirements. So we can accept 12th standard English. 70% and above is for direct entry with a free in-sessional, and 80% and above for direct entry. And this English exam must have been taken within 5 years of enrolling at SOAS. And we also accept degrees from certain universities as well, such as the University of Delhi. When you apply to us, you don't need to have an English language certificate because, as I've said, we do accept alternative qualifications. If you are asked to provide us with an English language certificate, that would be stated in your offer letter. And just a kind of idea of what we'd be looking for direct entry would be 6.5 in your IELTS score. Living costs and scholarships. So for London living costs, we would estimate around £1,000 per month. I've included a link here to a really useful webpage on the SOAS website, and it breaks down all of the different expenditure items that you might wish to consider during your month. In terms of scholarships, obviously for September 2022, many scholarships have now closed, but this one is still open, the International Postgraduate Scholarship. The deadline is the 31st of May. So if you're applying to any of the postgraduate programs, definitely submit your application for this scholarship. It's a £3,000 tuition fee waiver, and there's 15 awards available for India. It is merit-based, so we will be looking for a high CGPA or a percentage, and I've listed that there. We also have a Felix scholarship, so if anybody's looking for study in September 2023, definitely keep an eye out for the Felix scholarship. That typically opens early January and closes at the end of January. It's fully funded and it's merit-based, but also looks at the financial situation of students. The VP Kenneth Carr Memorial Scholarship is for subjects that have a specific reference to South Asia, like development studies, politics and history. And again, it's fully funded. It's closed now for September, but will be reopening again next year. And for anybody doing one of the LLM degrees, we have the Anthony Dix Memorial Fund, again closed for this year, but will be reopening next year. So these are postgraduate scholarships. Unfortunately, we don't have any scholarships at the undergraduate level, but if you are looking to study a master's with us, definitely check out those scholarships. And then just briefly on accommodation, I've provided a map here, which shows the SOAS campus, and then highlighted some accommodation options which are within easy reach. And we have a number of different options, from single rooms to double rooms, catered or self-catered. You can share a bathroom, you could have your own private bathroom. We're part of the University of London, so we also have intercollegiate halls where you could live with students from other University of London students. institutions, apologies. Student accommodation is inclusive of all bills, so it does make it convenient for students because what you pay each month covers all of your bills. Students can live privately, of course. They might look to get a flat with their friends, but you always just have to remember that in addition to the rent that you pay, you have to pay additional bills on top. For SOAS, student accommodation ranges between £150 to £307 per week. And you can apply once you've confirmed your offer. And if you go to the website, you can do a nice virtual tour of all of the student accommodation options. And then very finally, I promise this is my last slide, you can work whilst you're studying. So remember, you've got 20 hours on your visa, so you can work 20 hours a week during the term and full-time during the holidays. We have a career zone website. This is where students can access all part-time jobs and internships in London, and they can apply for that. That's exclusive for SOAS students, this website. And the careers team can give you a lot of help and support with regards to formatting your CV, preparing for interviews and applying for jobs. We've got many employment opportunities on campus, such as library assistants, student ambassadors and digital ambassadors, and we pay around £11.50 an hour for those jobs. And for undergraduate students, we do have an internship program where we partner with 12 organisations and we offer summer internships for students. So just to give you an idea, that's kind of what a lot of students do when they're studying with us. So that was just a very brief overview on SOAS. I've left my email address here. I would really encourage you to follow us on social media because there you can get a real nice idea about the campus. A lot of our students will take over our Instagram account for 24 hours. They'll post stories about what it's like to be a student. So and on YouTube we have a lot of videos from previous webinars that we've held. So that's just a brief overview from me, and now I'm very happy to take any questions that you might have. I can see that we've got a couple already in the chat box.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, we have Promil who's inquiring. You can see it in the chat.
Yeah, great, that's super. So we've got a question from Promil. You have done your BA LLB, and how can you get admission in MSc Accounting and Finance? Absolutely, so it's really easy to submit an application to the university, Promil. So we accept students from all backgrounds, and you don't necessarily have to have a bachelor's degree in accounting and finance. We are very kind of welcoming of students coming from different backgrounds. So you'll obviously need to meet our academic requirements. For postgraduate programs, we ask for a high 2.2. Now that equates to a CGPA of 5.5 if you're coming from a top university in India, or a CGPA of 6.0 for all other universities. So that's the kind of entry requirements that we'd be looking for. In terms of applying to us, I actually do have a slide on how to apply, which might be useful for you. Let me just, oh, sorry. Let me go through on how to apply for masters. So you'll apply online directly to us. Our application period runs from November to June. We'll ask for supporting documents, including your academic transcripts and certificates, a CV. That's not because work experience is mandatory, but if you do have any, you can tell us about that in your CV, tell us about your roles, responsibilities, the skills that you've developed, and also a 1,000-word personal statement, or SOP. So that's what we'll require. We don't require references. On a case-by-case basis, we might come back to ask you for a reference letter, but in terms of submitting a complete application, references are not required. There's no fee to apply, and then the deadline for this year is the 31st of July. So there's still the Accounting and Finance program, they're still accepting applications. So all you would need to do would be to follow this process on how to apply. In your personal statement, we want to see your commitment to the subject area. So if you are coming from a slightly different background, such as law, tell us about why you're now wanting to get into accounting and finance. Tell us what's influenced you to study it. Where's your interest come from? And how is it going to help you to advance in your career and perhaps get to the next stage? And also show us that you've done your research on the program. So go through the program page on the website. Tell us, particular modules interest you, you might want to look at some of the research that your professors are doing as well. So we just want to see that you've really taken your time and that you've done sufficient research. So hopefully that's useful for you, Pramil, in terms of how to apply. Let's see. We've got another question from Saloni. Okay, this is quite, let me just read through the question. So you're wanting to know about PhD programs from the website, the 1+3 structure following successful completion of the MSc Research for International Development, SOAS. I think that this is the Research Council.
Hi, Amy. I thought I'd just explain my
question. Okay, yeah, sorry. I was just reading through it. That's fine, Saloni. If you're able to ask the question, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes. I'm so sorry about that. So I was just confused as to what that 1+3 or +3 means. Are we saying that 1 year is for MPhil and then 3 years for PhD, or?
Yeah, so the PhD program is 3 years in total. So your first year is like your MPhil. So many students will just complete the MPhil with us and then, kind of go off and do other things. But after your first year on your MPhil, you then kind of upgrade to your PhD. So that would be the next 2 years. This 1+3 structure, I would need to have a little look at, Saloni. It's not something that I am too familiar with. Is this on the scholarships page for is it the Research Council?
I'll just send the link. It's on the PhD page, the MPhil PhD International Development page.
Okay.
I'll just
yeah, okay, that would be useful. I mean, I'm happy to kind of have a look at that and just kind of get a little bit more understanding. So is your question around the structure of the 1+3 or?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I'll make a note of that, Saloni, and if I can get your email address, I'll get your email address from Ranveer in the team here, and then I'll send a follow-up email to you if that's okay, and I can just kind of do a little bit more research on that. Yeah, and then I can get back to you in an email if that's okay.
Absolutely, that sounds great. I really appreciate it.
That's fine. I'll send an email later on today, and I'll get your email address from the team.
I do have a few other follow-up questions, if it's okay.
Of course.
Yes. So in terms of scholarships, these scholarships are for the academic year, right? So for instance, if I apply right now and say I get through for a PhD program, and this year there's only one scholarship, like you said, that's open. But for PhD students, typically, how does it work? Does the university give funding as well? I'm a little confused between UK and the US, because I understand in the US it's a fully funded program, but I'm not sure if it's the same in the UK.
Yeah, I guess so. In the UK, I guess there is the expectation that students are in a position to self-fund their PhD. Of course, there is funding available, but at the PhD level, you'll find that it's very specific to particular subject areas and research topics. So where at the perhaps master's level, scholarships are quite kind of widely spread and quite broad across different subject areas. Research is very specific. What I would suggest is that you definitely go to the website and you look through the research scholarships. I would also suggest for Indian students as well looking to do research degrees, look at the Felix scholarship. I've just put that in the chat box, and also INLAX. So Felix is an internal scholarship to SOAS. It funds masters and PhD students. INLAX is external, and again, it does fund masters and PhD students as well. With those scholarships, there's no kind of limit in terms of the subject. So I would definitely check out those two scholarships in terms of funding. And of course, as a PhD student, you might find that funding becomes available kind of during your 3 years. So you might be applying for pockets of funding throughout your program. But I guess, yes, typically we would expect that students are in a position to self-fund or to have a scholarship lined up.
And my last question is typically around the work authorization for, say, PhD students. Is it the same as the one for master students, where it's a 2-year work authorization now, or is it different?
Do you mean in terms of working in the UK or before you? Yeah. So for PhD students, the graduate visa, I think that you have 3 years where you can stay back in the UK and work. So obviously you've got your PhD program. Like all students, you can work as you're studying, and many PhD students do get positions like teaching assistants. They might be involved in teaching on campus, perhaps taking seminars for undergraduate or master's students. And then once you've completed your PhD, you will obviously then be able to apply for the graduate visa, and that is for 3 years in the UK. So you can use those 3 years to find work. You don't have to have work lined up at the time of applying to that visa, but you would have a 3-year kind of allowance.
Super. Got it. Thank you so much, Amy.
Okay, and thank you, Solani. And I'm sorry that I couldn't quite answer your question on the structure, but I'll definitely get back to you in an email with a bit more clarification.
No problem at all. And I'll probably stay in touch with you as well via Combined Co. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Solani. Great. Any final questions that you'd like to ask? Please feel free to go ahead. If not, that's fine. Hopefully that's been a useful session for you. You're in great hands with the team here. So yeah, any questions that you have about applying, they'll be great. They'll be able to answer. So thank you.
Right, thank you everyone, and this recording will be available also to others who have expressed interest, and do send us documents to info@combinedco.com, and we'll be glad to assist you further. Any final questions you can put on your video? A lot of others who have joined, otherwise we'll connect later again. Thank you.